Hey, Korinn here, 365 Days of Open Heart Living, Day 54, Changing Your Narrative. So I was reflecting today on where I was at the very beginning of starting Open Heart Living and where I'm at now. And my personal narrative has shifted. It's changed. I've changed in this journey that is Open Heart Living. And when I think back to where I was about 10 months ago when this all was inspired through me to start, I was in an idle time of frustration. I had a gentleman that I was really into that I was putting myself on pause for and kind of waiting around to see like if anything was going to progress. And the gentleman just never really wanted to show up to make anything of what could have been. So I I was frustrated. I was tired of waiting around, but I wanted to wait around at the same time because I really liked him. And I was lonely and I was hopeful that maybe a spark could be emblazoned into a heated fire of love. But out of my idleness of waiting and my frustration of nothing happening in the direction that I wanted it to be in the relationship area, I was feeling alone, lonely. I was not having a sense that my needs were being met emotionally. I didn't have an outlet to express myself the way that I really desired to with another human being, a man. And I needed an outlet. So creating my Facebook page first of Open Heart Living was the outlet that I needed to 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 create, to give myself a place of open expression and creativity that I could just flow, that I could just be me and flow. That's what started Open Heart Living at its most organic um, conjuncture. So I was frustrated and had idle time of waiting, was weak and feeling alone, and got pissed and was like, I gotta do something. I'm doing something. And it was born. It was at first a space for me to just express myself openly. It was a brand new page. It wasn't connected to any other thing that I had done, and I didn't invite in a lot of friends or family to like it. So it was fresh in that I could be candidly me and share things that I wouldn't share on my personal page, and it was very freeing. And then I think within that month of starting my Facebook page, Open Heart Living, I got the next inspiration to start recording YouTube meditations for Open Heart Living. So I jumped in and started that. And here we are. Fast forward to today, and my personal narrative has really changed. I feel strong, and it's something that has, I think, progressed over time. Um, the gentleman that I was interested in, it did not end up becoming anything more, and so I have had time, an extended amount of time, to just be alone, and that is hard. But in the last month, I would say I have really stepped into my own. I've stepped into a space of feeling like and having like an inner kind of mental space too of feeling instead of being weak in my aloneness, I am strong in standing on my own. I am empowered in standing on my own instead of weak in being alone. And that is a real shift in my personal narrative of where I was 10 months ago, what I came through in the last 10 months, and what has been building and growing in me in shifting in the last probably 6 months, actually, if I'm honest, but I've noticed it the most recently and can feel the difference. When you are in a space of having a narrative that keeps you down and is negative, and it keeps you in the pattern and the spaces and the habits of not being able to see yourself in a place of having personal power, then it's time to change that narrative. Sometimes it happens organically. Sometimes it's something that is inspired from inside of you. And sometimes it's something that maybe an external force aligns with that change and it is a catapult for you to move forward. Well, today, that is going to be the meditation that we do. You are going to change the narrative that you have in your mind today so that you can start to shift, and start to feel like you are more empowered and less weak. That narrative that you tell yourself in your mind that perpetuates a weakness in you, that you don't have to give it your attention. You don't have to give it your energy, and you don't have to encourage it to keep coming back and replaying over and over and over. Instead, what you can do is empower yourself to shift it. Notice it when it comes up. In the awareness of noticing it, then you're going to say a counter phrase, a positive statement to shift it, and you're going to be in that energy instead of carrying forward the energy of the negative narrative. So this came up as an inspiration for me today because I actually had an energy session. I had a client and did an energy healing with her. Beautiful woman with really beautiful energy. But one of the things that came up was to guide her through this. And as it was happening, I was just kind of following, like, what does this person need? You know, the words were kind of coming, the sense, the energy was all flowing beautifully. And it was like I was doing the energy therapy, facilitating the flow of energy for her energy field, her physical self and non-physical self. And it also felt like I was guiding her in a meditation. I was. Yeah. And it made me reflect too on how truly healing meditation is. And so I just want to make that point, because not only are you doing the practice of meditation for inner stability, for open heart living, but your practice of meditation has a therapeutic quality. It is healing you, honey, from the inside out. And in participating in the healing practice of meditation, that opens the door to not only live your heart more fully you, but to allow the narratives that you tell yourself to organically shift and open to the goodness that is your authentic self. With that, I invite you to close your eyes and start by just taking a couple nice, relaxing breaths. This is your time and your space to connect in with you. Feeling your breath, your body softens. Feeling your breath, your mind relaxes. Feeling your breath, your awareness is open to do your self journey in this meditation. I want you to open your awareness now to think about what are the statements that you say to yourself inside of your head, that negative self-talk, the unhelpful narrative that you have. What are a few of those phrases that come up regularly in your mind? Once you have that short list that's ran through your mind, I want you to go back to the one that stands out the most, that has the most negative feeling, that has the most negative narrative that you could be telling yourself and investing your energy in telling yourself. Once you have identified what that phrase is, I want you to think about it. Repeat it several times. Repeat it several times to yourself and just think about it. Understand how it is not helpful to you to have that repeating narrative come up from time to time. It is a limiting belief that holds you in a place where you don't believe that you can move beyond it. But we're going to break that ceiling right now, because now what I want you to do is spend some time thinking about what is a counter phrase that you can say to cancel out the energy of that narrative and to create empowering energy for yourself in a new narrative. Think of that phrase, create that phrase for yourself now. Once you've worked over in your mind what that positive narrative is that will cancel out that ceiling of the negative narrative and empower you to see yourself in a bigger, more expansive, stronger view of who you are and who you can be, that statement, I want you to repeat it now. Repeat that phrase and feel in your heart repeat that phrase and feel all through yourself the strength and empowerment that it brings forward inside of you. Now we're going to practice a little bit and catch ourselves. We're going to think of the negative narrative that we had chosen to work with. And then, as we are aware that we're thinking of it, we're going to shift and instead say the positive narrative to shift the energy and cancel out having a limitation on yourself in this area. So go back to thinking that negative thought. And then let that light bulb of awareness go on. Let the light of your mind shine on that negative narrative. You see it, you hear it, and you are empowered to shift it now. Move into saying your positive phrase now. And in fact, maybe say no and then say it, affirming that no, that thought is not going to keep you captive. No, you can grow beyond it in your perception of yourself and the narrative that you invest in internally. So say no, and then think the positive thought in response to that negative thought. Keep thinking that positive thought and repeating it. And feeling in your heart, in your body, in your energy field. This is you empowered with your personal power to change your own narrative. And one more time, go back to thinking of that negative phrase. Repeat it a couple times and then say no to stop it, and immediately follow with your positive phrase and repeat that many, many more times. Allow the energy that is being created, the frequency that is being created in this positive narrative to be felt all through your being, in your heart, in your mind, in your body, and all around you, in your spirit self too. Your whole energy field is vibrating at the frequency of this positive narrative of what you are creating for yourself in your inner sense of yourself, of how you believe in yourself. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Sometimes our personal narrative shifts on its own, but sometimes we need to consciously choose to shift it with our own personal power, because we can. It is a choice we can make. I encourage you to write down what the negative thought was that is something that is repetitive in your pattern of being you. And I want you to write down the counter phrase, the positive phrase that you can stop that repetitive thought and shift into a different narrative with. In your daily life, when you notice you're in that mindset, that mental frame of thinking in that way, with that phrase that is negative that you identified to yourself today, I want you to be aware of it. And in the moment of awareness, use your personal power and say no. And then shift into saying your key phrase that you were saying today to empower yourself, to believe in yourself, and to live your heart.